morning are continuing our series on family matters. So last week, if you weren't around, Hannington kicked us off, and if you missed that, you can catch up online. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be exploring things such as parenting, singleness, and marriage. Nice, simple topics for us to explore together, but I know it's going to be really helpful as we do that. But before we start this morning, I'm really excited to tell you about one thing we're going to be doing alongside that, and that is a family breakfast, okay? So who doesn't like a bit of breakfast? You know, it's a good way to start the day. But on Saturday, the 23rd of November, we're going to be bringing a whole bunch of people together, so you're welcome to come and join us. We believe families are just so incredibly important. They have the power to impact society in such a positive way. So what we're going to do on that morning is we're going to start by sharing breakfast together as families. There'll be coffee, juice, tea, cereal, toast, and bacon butties. You can't go wrong with a bit of bacon in the morning. And after that, you know, the kids will be going off to explore God's plan for their families, whilst parents grab another coffee and gather for an interactive parents forum. And they'll be discussing things like sharing faith as a family, technology and rest. And it'll be just a great opportunity to kind of share experiences and draw on each other's wisdom, because there's so much shared wisdom. We all do things in different ways, and we can all learn from each other in that. So if you are bringing up children, from toddlers to teenagers, you're so welcome to join us. There'll be kids groups running for ages 1 to 11. We didn't think there was much point in running anything above that age group on a Saturday morning, because they'll all be in bed anyway. So places can be booked online, but are limited, so you just need to sign up soon. They're just £1, amazing value for a bacon breakfast. It's going to be such an awesome time. We're just really excited about what God is going to do on that morning and beyond as well. So family matters, you know, whether functional or dysfunctional, loving or neglectful, present or absent, near or far. You know, whether we like it or not, we are all part of some kind of family. And families come in all shapes and sizes. And you know, whatever our nuclear family is like, the church is family. This morning is family. So the people you sat with today, the people you drank coffee with, the people your kids are hanging out with, this is family together. We're part of a wider family too. In the UK, we're part of Vineyard churches in the UK and Ireland, and there are 120 different churches that we are part of in our family. We connect with other churches in the local areas, and there's the global church itself. That's 2.2 billion strong. That is a big family. Now, part of being a healthy family is actually looking out for each other, supporting, encouraging, and helping one another through the good times. And it's really important that we celebrate the good times, and sometimes we don't do that enough, but also the hard times as well. And that's really a family that cares. So 2,000 years ago, the church started out really 12 people in a room. Then as they were filled with the Holy Spirit, they started meeting in each other's homes and in the temple courts, and many were added to their number. So the church grew rapidly, transforming cities, nations, and continents as they tried to do all that Jesus had taught them. But at the very heart of who they were and what they did was this idea of being a family that cares. You know, we read in Acts 2 that these believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions in order to give to anyone who had need. They looked out for each other and also for those in need within their community. They were a family who cared for each other. And as the church grew rapidly, it remained at the heart of their DNA. You know, as Paul was the early church planter, author, and leader, as he went out to plant churches, he was given one instruction: to continue to remember the poor, the very thing I've been eager to do all along. You know, he's not given instructions about how the church operates, about whether to serve donuts or sit in pews or church or seats. But one thing: to remember the poor, to remember and care for those that were around them. But you know, this priority of remembering the poor, of caring for those in need, actually goes back a whole lot further. In fact, it's just part of God's heart for this world. And so this morning we're going to look at a passage in the Bible from Isaiah, one of the prophets. He spoke about 700 years even before Jesus was born. And in this passage, he shares some of God's heart for the world that he created and how we should all be looking out for one another. So we're going to read from Isaiah 58 in just a moment, but I just would love to pray for us. Lord, we thank you so much for your word, the Bible. We thank you for the truths that are in there. And I want to ask that for each of us, we would hear the things from that passage that you long for us to hear and to understand this day. We ask that in the name of Jesus. Amen. So I'm going to read from verse 1 through to verse 12 this morning. And, you know, in my Bible, it's entitled True Fasting. Okay, now the Bible didn't say things like true religion, but this is what God is looking for, okay? So, this is God speaking through Isaiah. Shout it aloud. Do not hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Declare to my people their rebellion, and to the descendants of Jacob their sins. For day after day they seek me out. They seem eager to know my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right, and has not forsaken the commands of its God. They ask me for just decisions, and seem eager for God to come near to them. Why have we fasted, they say, and you have not seen it? Why have we humbled ourselves, and you have not noticed? Yet on the day of your fasting, you do as you please and exploit all your workers. Your fasting ends in quarreling and strife and in striking each other with lifted fists. You cannot fast as you do today and expect your voice to be heard on high. Is this the kind of fast I have chosen? Only a day for people to humble themselves? Is it only for bowing one's head like a reed and for lying in sackcloth and ashes? Is that what you call a fast? A day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke. Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood. Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and he will say, Here I am. If you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk, and if you span yourselves on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets and dwellings. I love this passage. There's so much in there. I could be talking for a month, but I'm only going to focus on two specific things this morning, you'll be pleased to know. The first is God's heart for his people, and also our own human nature. So I'm going to share a few thoughts, and then Hannah is going to come up and join me in a few minutes and share some things around Storehouse and how we can all be part of a family that cares, especially as we get ever closer to Christmas. And I hope what we share is helpful. So in the first few verses of this passage, we see that the people are fed up with God. Do you notice that? Why were they upset? You know, we read in those first verses that they've been seeking God, they've been wanting to know his ways, and were eager for God to come near them. But seemingly, God has ignored them. They even begin fasting and humbling themselves before God, and he still doesn't seem to have noticed them. Perhaps you feel like that this morning. Maybe you've been seeking God, wanting to know that he is there as you struggle through another day, or as you feel unfulfilled and in your job or in your life and just want to know what to do next in your life. Maybe you feel upset and disappointed with God. If you feel that way, you're in really good company. King David, the most famous king in Israel's history, a man after God's own heart, he wrote psalm after psalm expressing his disappointment and his anger often with God. You know, it's okay to express our disappointment. If you're struggling this morning, I want to share these words from the author, Philip Yancey, which I've just found really helpful. He says this: we tend to think life should be fair because God is fair, but God is not life. And if I confuse God with the physical reality of life by expecting constant good health, for example, then I set myself up for crashing disappointment. You know, I often talk to people who feel like God is absent in their troubles. So if you're feeling like that today, what might you do? Well, if we go back to what the people of Israel were doing, they were doing some really good things. We read that they were seeking God. They were seeking to learn God's ways, asking for him to come near. They were trying to humble themselves and fast and pray. So if those are good things, we can come back to whether God heard them or not in a moment. How do we go about doing some of those things? The first thing, learning God's ways. One of the things I just really want to encourage you is just, engaging with the Bible daily. There are so many ways that we can do that. We can do that in paper form. We can do that through apps, through listening to the Bible, through YouTube, through listening to talks or to podcasts. And I just want to throw out a challenge to you today. I wonder whether you could take 5 minutes every single day, if you're struggling in this area, to read the Bible, to open up the Bible, maybe start on one of the Gospels like Matthew, Mark, Luke or John, and just have a read for 5 minutes and just see what happens. In fact, why don't you come back and tell me how you got on in a week's time and see what that challenge did to you. Now, if you're someone who does that already, then why not read for 5 minutes more? Why don't you listen for 5 minutes more and just see what difference it might make to your life? Second thing, seeking God. We all find different things helpful, don't we? Coming together to worship together, to sing together is a really wonderful thing. But for some of us, maybe going out for a walk in nature and just seeing the beauty that God has created around us helps us to seek and to see God in those times and in those moments. How about listening to some worship music or listening to talk as you walk or as you drive around? We all wear headphones at different times. So many people seem to walk around with headphones these days. Why not put something that's going to really help you and really help you to seek God in that every day of your life? The third thing, humbling ourselves, fasting and praying. Fasting is a really good thing to do. And slowing down. In today's high-speed culture, so many things can distract us. So it's important we take these opportunities to slow down. You can fast from food. I would recommend you check it with your doctor that that's a sensible thing to do first. But you can equally fast from your phone or social media. So you can actually slow down, become more present and become more aware of God's presence around you as you go about your day. Humble yourself. Remember, do things that help you to remember that He is God and you are not. So a week ago we were up in a plane, and every time I go up in a plane, I like to look down on what people are doing down below. And it helps me to remember how small and insignificant and feeble we all are. You may not be going up in a plane every week, but climb up a hill. There may not be many of those around here, but see if you can find a hill, climb up it, just have a look down at people, and just see how small and insignificant we seem. And praying. Start each day by praying. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 in there it says, rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. And that's something I strive to do. And I just urge you to go with that kind of mentality into life, giving thanks, rejoicing, and praying continually, talking, conversing with God. But you'll notice that the people of Israel have done all those things. And yet they still feel like God is ignoring them. And I think the reason for that is what is much more significant than doing all these things is our motives, our heart behind them. So God explains through Isaiah what bad fasting or religion looks like. Why perhaps God hadn't been listening to their public displays of religion. And it talks about signs of, there's a few different signs that we see in here of them not perhaps living up to their faith, to their religion here. So verse 3, they were exploiting workers. Verse 4, they were quarrelling with each other, sometimes leading to physical confrontation. And you might have experienced that just trying to get your family out the door this morning. And in verse 5, we see that they were pretty much just showing up on their Sabbath, humbling themselves before God, but not allowing the rest of their week or their lives to demonstrate any kind of love to other people. God cares about what we do throughout our whole week and not just on a Sunday. If our fasting, if our faith or religion doesn't change us or impact the whole of our lives, then I don't think we can truly expect God to hear us. God is looking for something far more authentic, that we actually practice what we preach. God loves it when we come together on a Sunday to worship, to listen to a talk from the Bible, and then go home. But our faith in Jesus, true religion, should impact the whole of our lives. It doesn't stop when we walk out of here on a Sunday. In fact, it should begin when we walk out into our homes and our workplaces and our streets, as we see the brokenness around us and begin to see what we can actually do about it. So what does God long to see? Verse 7, he causes people to loose the chains of injustice, untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke, to share our food with the hungry, to provide shelter, to clothe them, to not turn away our own flesh and blood. Do you notice that language there? That's the language of family, our own flesh and blood. So what does that mean for us today in West London 3,000 years later? As a church family, we want people in our community and beyond to know that there is a God who loves them. It's part of our vision statement. It's part of who we are. We long for everyone to know and to understand and to experience the compassionate heart of God. So we reach out to those on the fringes, the hurting, the broken and the needy. We express the love of God to those that society ignores because of the kindness and mercy that God has shown to us. So just as we ourselves have received, so we give. We love the last, the lost and the least. We befriend the lonely and the elderly, and we feed the hungry. We make outsiders and outcasts feel safe and wanted. We find shelter for the homeless. We care for the weak and for the broken as we stop and we see the need around us, in our streets, in our communities, in the world that we live in. But it's not just seeing what's broken, it's doing something about it. That is being a family that cares. It's what Jesus himself did. Jesus didn't spend much time with the influential. He was there with those last, the lost and the least. And he was frequently criticized for doing that. This isn't as simply because there's such a great need in our society, but because that's always been who we are as the church, as Vineyard churches, as Riverside Vineyard Church here in Felton today. Our desire, fueled by the love and the compassion of God, is to go to the last, the lost, the sick, the outcast, the poor, with the love and compassion and mercy of Jesus. And the more we do this, the more the Lord loves it and he blesses it. So what's the impact of that? I think there's an impact for us personally. In verse 11, it says he will guide, satisfy, and strengthen. And if I read it correctly, aren't those the very things that the people of Israel were after in the first place? When we are following God's heart, God will guide us. He will be a light unto our feet. In a world that can't get any kind of satisfaction, God will satisfy. And he will strengthen us. In fact, when we are weak, when we truly recognize how weak and feeble we are, that's when God's strength is perfectly displayed. And secondly, it will impact our community. Verse 12. Verse 12 talks about rebuilding ruins, raising up age-old foundations, repairing broken walls, and restoring public dwellings, our cities, our homes, and our families. And that is what we long to see. You know, there are things in all of our communities that are broken. There are people who are hurting, people who need to know the love of God. And as our hearts are turned towards Him, as we allow God to set the oppressed free, to share our food, provide shelter, when we clothe those with no clothes, as we don't turn away our own flesh and blood, we will begin to see that kind of change in our communities. As God Himself rebuilds, raises up, restores and renews our families, our streets and our communities. Now we want to spend a little bit of time now talking about some of the things going on in the whole area of compassion at Riverside. So Hannah's going to come up. I'm going to swap microphones because I can't hold this in place and it looks odd on my nose, doesn't it? So let's be honest. Suitable juncture. Wonderful. So Hannah, for those of you that don't know, Hannah looks after our storehouse ministry. She looks after compassion at Riverside Vineyard. And I just have a huge pleasure of working with her and you know, even though she's a little bit shorter than some of us and struggling to get off of the stool, she's brilliant and has such a passion for all that, you know, God is doing in this whole area. So, Hannah, I know that this passage, I chose this passage and then you kind of like, right, well, this is my heart for what we do here at Riverside. So do you want to share a little bit about why it's so significant to you?
Yeah, definitely. So, when I first started 6 years ago overseeing Storehouse, so many people would share this passage with me, this and Isaiah 61. And it talks about the whole rebuilding of the city, and it just broke my heart. And I just thought, how can we do that here at Riverside? And I believe that we can do that one life at a time. And so that's what we do. As part of Storehouse, we long to see our community. We want to eradicate poverty. You know, that's our dream. That's what we want to see. We want to see families restored. We want to see people with food on the table. You know, that they don't have to use our, Storehouse. We would love the Storehouse not to exist because people are in a really good place. And so that's my heart, and that's the heart of our team. And so we place such high value on spending time with our clients. You know, that's why we give them breakfast. That's why we sit down. That's why we talk to them, because we know that we have a God who is a miracle maker, you know, who is this promise keeper, and who can change their lives. And so that's why it's so important to us. And, you know, we want to invite them into the story. We want them to be able to be a part of rebuilding the city.
Fantastic, Hannah, thank you. So back in May, I want to take you back to the warmer climes of May, where, you know, we're probably all in shorts, and anyway, it wasn't that long, but on Vision Sunday, we started a series called Open Hand, and as part of that, we talked about some of the work that we're looking to do within Storehouse. Can you just update us a little bit about how that's going, Hannah?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, this whole Open Hand series, it's been a dream. It was something we started dreaming about a long time ago because we want to provide space. Our dream is to provide a shop space for our food area and our clothes area. So when our clients come, they can choose. They have choice. They can go and choose what food they want to feed their family, what cereal their children like. And that they're able to do that in a really, sort of just a really normal way. You know, just go around the shop and pick food off the shelf. And for our clothes to be hung up nicely, and for them to have a really, really great experience. And so where we're at the moment is, as part of that, we were going to change the windows in the young vineyard and youth area. That's been done. They look great. Our office, our new Storehouse office has been built. You'll see here, that's our new offices. And this whole area here, where it says Storehouse, is the area that we're going to develop. It's starting hopefully just before Christmas, and we aim to be done by the end of April. And we can't wait to show you that, and you to come and be able to have a look around that. So yeah.
Fantastic. And I think if you click onto the next slide, then you can see the office that's being built there. So maybe one more.
This is kind of our mock-up artist dream.
There we go.
There it is.
So you can see the office on the left there, the toy room on the right, and the area behind that, we're just to be able to have that sense of choice that many of us just take for granted. But it's going to be such an incredible blessing to our clients that we're able to serve them and to love and to bless and to more than anything to really honour them.
We started it a few years ago actually with our toy area, I should say actually, because that has just transformed the experience that our clients have, so they can come in and it's a really lovely, lovely space. And we always get a wow when people come and visit us and when clients come for the first time. So this is just more. We know with God there's always more. We want to develop that. And we're just pushing in to what we feel and we believe that He's called us to. And you guys are part of that. And so we're so grateful for all that you've given to make that happen.
Yeah. I'm looking around the room and I can see a whole bunch of people that are involved in the running of Storehouse. We run through volunteers only. So actually, if you are involved in any way, whether in Storehouse, in the drop-in that we run on a Thursday, or you're part of the allotment team, can you just raise your hand where you are? And keep your hands raised. That's a whole bunch of you that are involved in blessing and honouring and supporting the lives of others. So keep your hands up. We would love to just pray for you and thank you for all that you do. So if you're sat around any of these guys, can you just reach out a hand? Because we would love to honour these guys and I'm just so grateful for what they do. But Lord, I thank you so much for the heart of compassion that you have placed inside these people. And dangerously, I want to ask that you would help that to grow. But I want to ask that you would help these guys to just be carriers of your compassion into this church family, but into the communities that they're part of as well. We want to pray that through these people here, that we would see lives changed and transformed, one at a time, like Hannah said, that we would see people's lives turned around for you, Jesus. And it may feel insignificant, the thing that you're doing, but that is so not the case. You know, every food item that is moved, every client that is served, every aubergine that is grown in the allotment, that is bringing your kingdom here on earth, Lord, and we ask for more of that. We ask for more. So, Lord, we bless these guys. We thank you for them, and we would ask that you continue to grow and to stir what you are doing in them. In the name of Jesus, amen. Guys, thank you for all that you do, but I'm sure there's ways that the rest of us can get involved as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about that, Hannah?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as Rob said, our team is run mostly on volunteers. I have about 50 volunteers, which is incredible. And they serve throughout the week, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and lots of stuff going on around behind the scenes. We have a lot of team, all of that. You can come and be a part of that. I'd love you to come and join us. We always need more. We particularly need some sorters. So if you think that you can sort through some clothes, we would love some sorters at the moment. So come and join us. If you can give 3 or 4 hours a month, make people on a Saturday team, for example, work on a rota, they come once a month, or you can come and join our Thursday team. Andy always says harvest is every week here at Storehouse, so you can be involved by bringing food every week, non-perishable food. We have a donations barrel at the back to the auditorium there, and you can give in that way. And also we've rolled out our business barrels as well. So if you work for a business, we want to help you guys help your colleagues be really compassionate. I believe that everyone wants to help, but we just need to make that really easy for them. So if you're interested in having a food barrel, a Storehouse business barrel in your business, come and speak to myself or Karen at the back at the end. We'd love to tell you more about that.
And it doesn't just have to be in a business either. So my boys were talking about like harvest at school, and so they actually spoke to the headmaster, and we've now got a business barrel, our business barrel is a school barrel in their school, which people are able to donate to. So just a really simple thing, but that's just really helping these kids just to engage with being compassionate to those around them. Fantastic, Hannah. So I've heard a little room. I've heard that something's coming up relatively soon. Christmas. Yeah. It's coming up pretty soon, isn't it? I'm sure there's something we can do to respond and to help with that Christmas.
Christmas is 52 days away, and the Storehouse Christmas party is 33 days away. So we are already, we were talking Christmas months ago, and we're already in the planning for that. But yeah, Christmas is a particularly hard time for many of our clients, they are unable to buy their children brand new gifts for Christmas. So what we do, one of the highlights of our year here is we put on a Christmas party for all of our Storehouse families. We have entertainment, face painting, all sorts of things going on, food. We do arts and crafts with them. We have donkeys. Last year, first time we had donkey rides, and it's really sad, but for some of those children, they've never seen real animals before, which, I find unbelievable, but they loved it, and just the smiles and the thrills ever after was just amazing. So that's one part of it, and then we give each child a brand new toy for Christmas, about the value of £15 to £20. So you can be a part of that, you can give financially to that. We have some envelopes here at the back. You can give some money to go towards that, to put on a great party, to buy some presents. You can also go out and purchase a present yourself and bring that in and put it in the box at the back there. Alternatively, we have a wish list this year, so you can find that on our webpage, on our website, which is, I've got it right, on www.riversidevineyard.com/lovechristmas, and that will give you all the information. You can click on the wish list, and there's loads of different things that you can purchase on there. You can get them delivered to your address and then bring them in here on a Sunday, and you can be a part of it that way. But to make it happen, sorry, you were going to ask?
So how can we, use our time as well, Seems like you're already there.
Use our time. So we need, in order to make this happen, we need you guys to be a part of it. And so you can do that by signing up to a team. We have 3 teams, primarily. One on a Thursday. The Thursday before, we're setting up this room and transform it, make it into an amazing kind of child-friendly wonderland. So that's something that we do on the Thursday before. On the Saturday, we need people here. We need bodies. We need people to chat with our clients, to help wrap presents, to help clients choose presents for their children, arts and crafts, oversee the donkeys, which is great fun. So we need people on the ground on the Saturday, and then, very importantly, afterwards, we need people to help us tidy up, because children are very messy, and the floor is filthy, and we need to reset ready for the next day, which is a Sunday.
And carols. Yeah, the carols is the next day, so we use a setup. So, but if you don't, and I think, maybe quite wisely, someone said, don't ever work with children or animals. So if that kind of fills you with dread, can I just really urge you to kind of become and be part of that set-down team? Because there's so many ways to get involved, but that is such a critical thing to making sure that event runs smoothly. And so many of us can easily kind of rush off when the party's finished, but actually that's when the hard work really begins. So I really urge, if you can give some time beyond there, please come down and be part of that. So let me. So Hannah's just going to. I'll talk for a minute. Just if you can grab one of these flyers, can you just hold that up beside you? I think there should be some. That is for you to take away, but more importantly, to fill out what part you can be involved in. There's a bunch of things we're running over Christmas season, and you can find out about all of those. We'll talk a little bit more about those in the coming weeks. But you can get involved. You can sign up to be part of the party. We're doing things like Christmas hampers, which we've got some shopping lists for as well, which we'd love you to give alongside our regular gifts as well. And there's a whole bunch of ways that you can be part of this. So either visit riversidevineyard.com/lovechristmas, or you can fill out your details on the back of here. You can find out all the items that we want to kind of purchase for gifts as well. All of it is at the website. Have a look at that flyer and get yourself signed up. And if you've never been along to the party, it is just astonishing. It really is one of the most incredible things. If you've never had a chance to see it, can I just urge you to sign up for being part of one of those teams, and to kind of come and witness and to kind of see and be part of what's going on there. Fantastic. Hannah, thank you so much for sharing. It'd be really, really good for us to kind of pray as we land, as we go out into the rest of our week as well. So if you're able to, why don't you stand with us? I just want to share again those verses, just a few of those verses that I shared earlier. Because I just sense that for many of us, the Lord is just stirring something in our hearts. Is this the kind of fast I've chosen? Is not this the kind of fasting I've chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and to break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood. And in verse 12 it says, your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer